And in terms of UNICEF generally, what are the major issues that you are facing in the next year or so?
You see, good thing is we have a very good executive director for UNICEF who had an experience of working even in a poor country like Bangladesh. Tony Lake, Dr. Anthony Lake, who is our current executive director. I know him in the early 70s, in 1973, when he was in Bangladesh.
Yes.
And it was a devastating country at the time. Now, we have recently adopted in UNICEF a new strategy that is known as Equity Strategy for MDG Goals. The idea is, when you look in a macro sense, a country may be doing very good, but there are pockets of poverty, pockets of failures. Now, how to handle those? In Bangladesh, we knew those areas which are vulnerable, either due to climatic reason, geographical, or some other reasons. Unless we reach them, we cannot achieve overall goal. So UNICEF has taken as a policy strategy this equity approach. They will put more efforts on those areas where there are more vulnerable children.
Right. So when the United Nations Millennium Goals were first announced and agreed, your government embraced them. And now when you look some years on, how do you think those goals are being achieved, and where do you think we're falling behind generally, not just Bangladesh, but on the whole issues?
You see, this was a Magna Carta for the developing countries, the Millennium Development Goal. It's a great thing. And it was a roadmap for us. It was a partnership between both developed and the developing countries. There was a responsibility on the part of the developing countries, and the goals were set. Let's say poverty rate gone down to 15%, 100% primary. These are all the goals set. Yeah. As a country like Bangladesh, we are either on track or achieved many of those goals. But in one area, we are faltering behind. You see, besides the one goal for the developing countries like Bangladesh is the maternal death rate or the nutrition. This is an area we have still long way to go. But in most of the other areas, we are either on track or have achieved. But we could achieve the others also, but one big area where the partners made a promise again and again, repeatedly, they will help us in our efforts. But partners could not keep up their promises. For example, in Bangladesh, to achieve Millennium Development Goals by year 2015, we need an additional around $15 billion expenditure each year, which we don't have. And partners don't come.
But that's because of the global economy and the general problems.
This is a new phenomenon. Even prior to the global meltdown, financial meltdown, there was some reluctance. Other than few countries, there was a reluctance to come forward. They made promises but don't come. So we have finding this difficulty. I can assure, if the resources are correctly been available, we can reach all the Millennium Goal and beyond. And this is not the developing country would be benefited. A developed country would be benefited, because if the developing country do not prosper, there could be a security threat for the developed nation.
Yes.
I give one single example. Take the case of Afghanistan, only 29 million people. US alone is spending $110 billion to maintain security up there. But if this country becomes relatively better off, you don't have to spend that much money.
Of course not, no. But you have two goals, really. You want the partners to continue to come forward and fulfill their promise. And then you want the global economy to improve, because you want more investment, I imagine, coming into Bangladesh as a country, more industrial development.
Yeah, you see, I look at the goal, whole goal as a global goal. Because if the developing countries and developed country wants to prosper more, everybody has to prosper.
Yes.
So it is a partnership between developed and the developing country. We have to work together. Sometime in the area of climate change, I give an example. Maybe I should narrate it to you.
I was going to come on to that. It's very good.
I
Please.
said that, if I take a flight from New York JFK to, say, London, Heathrow, in the flight there are first class passengers, business class passengers, economy class passengers. Let's say I'm from an impoverished country, so I take the economy class. You are from USA, so you take the first class. But if a fire breaks out in the economy class, and I fail to put it off because of my constraints, either technological or resource, then what will happen? It will engulf the entire flight. In that case, no one, whether you are business class or first class or economy, no one can reach their goal. No. So it's a global issue. So we all have to work together.
That is a very good metaphor, and it needs to be fully recognized, I think.
I agree.
By partner companies around the world. In terms of natural disasters, Bangladesh has had more than its fair share. Sustainable development is a lot more difficult given what has happened and given the whole problems with climate change, which still some countries and some politicians refuse to accept is a reality. What can be done about that, do you believe?
This is a sad story. It's a reality. It's a scientific thing. And we in Bangladesh, we are witnessing every day. A large part of our land has gone underwater. And those people have been removed from their homes. And now they're crowding in the cities, creating slums. These are happening. You see, we are the most vulnerable. And it has made our achievements, MDG goals or others, more vulnerable, not sustainable. To make them sustainable, government is already trying to spend a lot of money on their own. We have spent over $10 billion just for adaptation purpose. You see, but adaptation is not enough. We need to have mitigation. You know, we have 4 major pillars in our climate change: the adaptation, mitigation, technology transfer, and green farm. In addition, another big issue, which nobody is recognizing yet, and that is the people who will be displaced from their homes, they have to be, taken care of. Somebody has to come forward, but unfortunately nobody is coming. Now going back to your question, how should we handle this issue? I think the developed countries, the industrialized countries, who have created who are responsible for this problem, they should realize that today we may be affected, tomorrow they will be affected. Many cities in USA, Boston, a part of Boston, or even Florida might go underwater. And you can see the erratic climatic changes. So they have to realize. I think here we need in the USA, in each campuses, college campuses, university campuses, a movement so that the lawmakers realize that this is a big issue for the global community and we cannot ignore it anymore.
I want to close with, again, coming back to women and children, issues that are very close to your heart and to your political beliefs, particularly the slavery issue, which still goes on and in many places is unfettered, and the impact of that on children and child poverty. What is your belief that this could ever be ended?
I believe it can be ended. It needs a mindset and a commitment. Look, in USA you have this slavery. Yes. But there was a mindset and commitment to end this slavery, and you are successful. And there are now modern day slave trade and others. If the government are committed and the global community are committed, I think this can end. For this we need regional cooperation. Bangladesh took a lead in this area. You see, we have this slave trading, but the Bangladesh initiated some regional programs under the South SAARC nations, and it worked out very well. And I'm thankful also to the media and other public, because they raised this issue. If we all, last year, in the UN, we have adopted a new resolution. It is Global Trafficking Resolution. Yes. And here, we want to create a fund to help those NGOs and civil society who are working on this issue, creating public awareness to end this slave trade or this slavery. I have no doubt that this can end. But one thing we need a lot of commitment, lot of public awareness, and we have to train the police forces, the security forces as to how to handle it. There are laws and regulations in many societies. I know in case of Bangladesh we have 36 rules and regulations and laws in our country to end this. But sometimes because of lax enforcement, it don't materialize. But if the government is committed, this can be materialized. And I have no doubt it would end.
We must make sure that the story is always being reflected in the news media, because there will still be many people that think this problem is diminished or it's gone away completely. That isn't the case.
You have to keep it, in the news media. If you do that, it will end. I take one example. It's a camel jockey. In some Gulf countries, they used to abuse young kids, the young kids below the age of 5, as camel jockeys. And almost half of them used to either get maimed or die. Yeah. We started a movement with the help of media. And I tell you, thanks God, the government of UAE has now abolished it. Now they use, instead of little kids, they use robot. And it's working now, and people do not have to be abused anymore. Thanks to media, thanks to leadership, lawmakers, and public, that we have achieved a significant achievement in that area.
Your Excellency, thank you very much indeed for spending time with South News, and good luck to you with all of your endeavors.
Thank you very much, and please pray for us, and we hope one day so many problems of the earth we all can be eliminated by working together.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Thank
you very much. This is Alan Capper for South News.